Hello. Okay, I'm really excited today because as of the moment of this video being shared, Thorns and Fangs is out. I started writing this for NaNoWriMo November 2013. It has gone through many drafts and rewrites since then, so it is super exciting to finally have it out in the world. To celebrate, I'm hosting a giveaway on my blog. I'll put details about that in the post that will accompany this video. But for now, I'm celebrating, I guess, by answering questions that I've been asked. Thank you, everyone who gave me a question. I'm looking forward to these. So, Kajay Harper, who is the author of Tracefinder and a ton of other really cool stories, I've got an interview with Kajay coming up later this week. She said, "You're writing vampires here, among other interesting paranormals. Are you a vampire fan who reads a lot of them, or did you try to stay away from other people's paranormal stories while you were building your own unique world?" A little bit of both. I am a vampire fan, but I'm very much a fan of the classic vampire. I love Dracula. I did not love Dracula the first time I read it. Like everyone else, I think I made it halfway through and quit because nothing was happening. I then discovered Camilla, which is a vampire story that actually predates Dracula and inspired Bram Stoker. It's by Sheridan Le Fanu, and it's really cool, mainly because it is very creepy. To a modern reader, you know exactly what is happening. Laura, the narrator, is tired, getting sick, she has strange dreams, her energy is just slowly fading away. You know, she has no idea why. Well, to us reading, it's very obvious that it's Camilla being a vampire and drinking Laura's blood. But to the people in the story, just the fact that they don't know gives the events of the story this really strong sense of horror that modern vampire novels really have trouble replicating. There's another great moment in Dracula. After reading Camilla, I gave Dracula another go and just discovered I loved it. I've read it 3 or 4 times since then and just find new things to enjoy about it every time. But in Dracula, there's this fantastic moment where Lucy is slowly dying. Dracula is feeding from her and she's losing strength and is very weak. Um, but they've given her this wreath of garlic flowers to wear. And Lucy's mother goes to check on her in the night, notices that her daughter seems distressed, and decides to help her breathe by removing the flowers, the only thing keeping Dracula away. And it's really awful watching these series of events unfold, but it's so good at the same time because nothing gives you that sort of creeping feeling of inevitable horror than the Victorian masters. Like seriously, they are great. I mean, they really know how to do great gothic stories. So I've read a few modern vampire stories. Everyone has to read Twilight. It's just something you have to do if you're going to write a vampire story. Again with Anne Rice. Unfortunately, I think the Anne Rice novel that I got was one of the ones after she fired her editor. It was not good. I so I've sort of I kind of picked in and out modern vampire stories. Um, my friend Anne Barwell's done a modern take on vampires, set in Flint, Ohio. It's a series, the Sleepless City series, co-written with Elizabeth Noble, that I enjoyed. Um, they kind of It's a more modern spin on vampires. I'm trying not to say too much because the question is about my vampires, and so I was aware of modern vampires, and I wasn't trying to avoid them, but I also wanted to make sure that my vampires were distinct, and the way that I wanted to do that was going back to the kind of the vampire classics and trying to get some of that feeling of horror and menace and inevitable threat. Um, at the same time, it's no longer Bram Stoker's period of time. Things have changed. So it was, and that poses new challenges to modern vampire authors. Like, people know what the symptoms of a vampire feeding on you are, especially in a town like New Camden where supernaturals are known to exist. So that immediately dictated that things were going to be different. I've tried to blend in modern elements while keeping the threat. I don't know how well I succeeded, but I had a lot of fun. I think I reread Dracula twice while writing Thorns and Fangs. So, yep, mainly leaning on the classics more than modern vampire stories for influences. Okay, Bree asked me, I am curious how you ended up in Japan and if living in Japan has influenced your writing in any way. Okay, so growing up with my family, we traveled a lot. I've lived in Australia, New Zealand, Indonesia, Singapore, and the Solomon Islands, and traveled a lot as well. I the last time I counted, I think I'd visited 23 countries. Um, so that experience gave me a love of traveling, and I knew that once I finished university, I wanted a job that would allow me to travel. So I thought, okay, I'll teach English. I'll start in Japan. Japan has a long history of teaching English. I can get some experience, and then I'll just travel the world, spending a few years in, various countries. That was 10 years ago. I got to Japan and never left. Japan is a really comfortable city to live in. Comfortable country to live in. I've been in big cities. I've been on a tiny little island, and now I'm in a small country town. Um, all of those experiences have been different. They've all been great. I've found some positives and some negatives to everywhere I've lived in Japan, and I'm still finding new things to learn, new things to enjoy about the country, though I'm starting to feel like it might finally be time to say goodbye to Japan and move on to the next adventure. But Japan has definitely influenced my writing. When I was living on my small island, it had a population of 5,000 people, and I was the only non Japanese person on the island. And that was tough. From Sunday afternoon through Friday evening, I couldn't leave the island because it was connected to the main line by a ferry that only came, a few times a day. So there was no way I could um, head out to the mainland after school and make it back in time for school the next day. So it was tough, and I wrote a science fiction story that was basically an exploration of my feelings of culture shock. It was kind of a coping mechanism, just for a way of identifying what I was going through and working through it. Um, so that is one really obvious way. And there will be other less obvious things that I haven't even noticed. I think my dialogues are kind of clunky because I am not surrounded by native English speakers all the time. I think the fact that the conversations I have on a day-to-day basis are with people who are either speaking Japanese or who are speaking English as their second language, and even my best teachers are not native speaker level. So yeah, that's a negative. On the positive sides, I think the conflicts and interplay between different cultures create really interesting ideas for stories. Um, there's also, because I come from New Zealand, we're a really young country. We don't have a very long history. Japan does, and by looking at how people have shaped the landscape and learning about different historical events that are still remembered today has sort of opened my eyes to more things than I would see in New Zealand. That does not accurately express what I want to say, but it will do. Next question, Bailey Queen, great cover. Okay, not a question, but I agree. Aria, who is the cover artist at Nine Star, she has done an amazing job with the Thorns and Fangs cover. She's also done an amazing job with a lot of covers. Go to the Nine Star site. Every cover you see there, I am pretty sure, was made by Aria. Enjoy. They are really nice to look at. Okay, Joe Cosentino. I've probably said that wrong. Sorry, Joe. He asks, if you were single, which one of your characters would you date? This is a really tough question because I do not really date. It's also really tough because a lot of my characters, I would love to hang out with them, but I don't think we'd be compatible romantically. Like, I could easily see myself hanging out with Nate and Aki or playing D&D with Ben. I'm not sure that I would have much in common with Hunter. That's okay, he's pretty, I can just sort of admire him from a distance. But for dating, I would probably choose either B, who is one of Nate's friends, she's a photographer, or Denise, his boss. Though, again, Denise is very happily married, so yeah, I'll just stick with B. I think she'd be fun. And that is actually all of my questions, so yay! Um, the Thorns and Fangs is available from Nine Star Press now. It will probably be coming to Amazon in a couple of hours and to iBooks and Barnes & Noble and Scribd and possibly other places I am not yet aware of in the coming days. So I'd appreciate it if you checked it out. Let me know what you think. And yeah, thanks again. Bye.